Hello and good evening, CSI135 students. This video is for the week in review for week number 2, which was September 4th, 2013, and this is for the fall 2013 semester. So I quickly wanted to cover some of the topics which we covered on Wednesday evening, and one of the first and most important topics was the VI editor. So we learned a few commands that we can use with the VI editor, and we're going to use those as well, and I'm going to demonstrate each of those in turn. So we learned the ls command, right? And the ls command by itself will list out files in your home directory, right? Or in the directory, your current working directory, which is the directory that you're in at this time for class. It's going to be your home directory. We also learned the cat command. So I can cat out file names, and cat is short for concatenate, and it basically will display the file to the screen. And so that's the file, those were the contents of the file. So when I type ls, if I wanted to cat out lab number 1 and see what lab number 1 is, it was just simply a test message. So ls will list the files in your home directory, which is your current working directory at this time. Cat will display the contents of the file, and that's what we have there. So now what if I wanted to edit or create a file? So I'm going to create a file called VI Presidents, right? So as you can see here, the name of the file is indicated at the bottom, and it says that it's a new file. So now the important thing to remember is that there are two initial modes to the VI or the Vim editor, and those are the insert mode or command mode. So right now we're in command mode, and you can tell that you're in command mode because right down here in the left hand corner you don't have anything that says insert mode. So there's a number of ways to get into insert mode. If I hit a lowercase I, or if I hit a lowercase o, or if I hit the lowercase a, right? You can see that each time I do that, that the bottom left hand corner of the terminal emulator, Secure CRT, is indicating I'm in insert mode. So if there's nothing there, you're in command mode, but if it says insert, then you're in insert mode. Remember that to move back and forth between command mode and insert mode, you simply hit the escape key, right? So let's say we wanted to type up a list of some of the presidents who we can remember. So I'll hit I for insert, and we'll put in Washington and Lincoln, and we'll put in Reagan and Wilson and Bush. Okay, so I hit escape. So you'll notice that when I had the insert, I was able to type, and the characters that I'm typing show up on the screen. When I hit the escape key, now I go back into command mode. So remember from class, if you type the letter H when you're in command mode, it moves your cursor one spot to the left. If you type the letter K, it moves your cursor one line up. If you hit J, it moves you one line down. And if you hit L, it moves you one spot to the right. So H, K, J, and L. And this will help you move around. So, but what if I wanted to put something after Bush? What if I wanted to put Bush 42? If I hit I right now, what's going to happen is, if I hit the space key, it's going to take that H with me, right? And that's not what I want. So I want to append. So you want to use the lowercase a, will scoot the cursor one spot to the right of your current location, and if you notice down here, it automatically puts me into insert mode, so now I can type. So I would put in Bush 42. Now, something else we talked about that's critical is that you save the file early and often. So from command mode, if you do a colon, which then moves you down into last line mode, and then W, it will write the file to disk. So as you can see, it says Presidents, it's a new file, 5 lines, 41 characters, and it has been written. And this is very important. So if I were to be disconnected right now, this file in the state that it's in would still exist on the class system, and it would be in the same location where I left it. So again, I will put you into insert mode. A will append to insert mode. But what if I wanted to put a name between Reagan and Wilson? So if I hit lowercase o, and it stands for open, it will open a line below the line that I was currently on. And now you can see here I'm also in insert mode. So from here, I could type in, or actually we already have Bush. So from here I'll type in Nixon, right? So again, I'm in insert mode. I hit escape to get to command mode, :W to save my file. Now, how do I save and quit out? And we talked about 3 distinct ways to do this. The way that I was taught, that I always use, is to hold the shift key down and hit ZZ, right? And if I go back into the file, right, you can see the presidents are still there. You can also do :X, and that will quit you out of the file. And I can also do :WQ, which means write and quit. Okay, does everybody see that? :WQ down at the bottom. And when you are in command mode and you enter the colon, it puts you in what's called last line mode, right? So :WQ. So again, LS allows me to list out the contents of the current working directory, which in this instance is my home directory. Now if I cat the file out, it will show me the contents of the file. Okay, so that's a quick review of the VI editor and some of the tasks that we accomplished in the VI editor. And that's also some of the commands that we learned, which are ls and then cat. Oops, I'll do the president's file. Right? And so that's how we view the contents of the file. The other utility that we learned about was the mail utility. And this is a critical utility because this is how we're going to communicate back and forth during class. It's also how you're going to be doing your homeworks, your projects, and your exams. So if I type in mail, and this is how you check to see if you have mail, and as you can see, it shows that I've got 36 messages, and 36 of them are unread. So remember that the caret, or the greater than sign, next to a message indicates that that's the current message. So if I were to hit the enter key, that is the message that would be displayed. And now if I hit H to see the headers, right, you can see the U has gone away because it's no longer unread. I just read that message, and that is still the current message. We also talked about saving messages. So if I want to save the current message, I could type in S space 1, and that's going to save message 1, and then I can give it a file name. And remember, it's important that your file names, remember that Linux is case sensitive, and you don't want to have any spaces in your file names. So I'll connect it with an underscore. So I hit enter, and as you can see, it has saved that message off. So how do we read our mail? So if I type in, let's say I want to see the favorite color of CSI135-400, which is message 21. I would simply enter in 21 and hit enter. And as you can see here, CSI135-400, their favorite color is blue. So now when I hit H, it'll show me the headers again. And as you can see, the asterisk indicates that the message has been saved off. The greater than sign is back down at message 21 now because that's the last message that we looked at. So that is the current message. All of these messages 2 through 20 are unread. But you'll remember it said we had 36 messages, but for some reason I'm only seeing 20 or 21. So if I were to type in 36, you can see that this is message number 36. And now if I type in H, now I'm at the end of the messages, right? So it shows me 22 through 36. So it's very important, and I'll quit here, that when you type in mail, you check to see how many messages you have, because it's only going to display the first the first 21, right? So if you see 33, you would need to enter in 33 and hit enter. Now, what was interesting, and we learned this in class, if you enter the question mark at the ampersand from the mail program and hit enter, you'll see a list of all the commands that you could run from this ampersand prompt within the mail utility. We've already seen the S, right, to save a message. So append messages to a file. And you simply type S, the list of messages, or it could just be one message, and then the name of the file to which you want to append. So it's not going to overwrite, it's simply going to add it to the end. The undelete command was an interesting command, and I'll demo that really quickly here. So if I type in headers, and I type in D space 33, which means I'm going to delete homework 1 from user CSI135-400. And I'll hit enter. Now when I type in headers, you'll notice message 33 is gone. So what if I also delete message number 23, which is the favorite color from CSI135-400? When I hit H, you'll notice that mail does not reorder the messages. So 23 is simply missing. 33 is still missing. So if we enter the question mark, and it says undelete messages, and it wants a message list, I'm going to do U20. Oops. So we remember this is actually a good thing that happened here. So as you can see, I tried to backspace, right? And I'm getting that Control H character. Remember from week 1, Control U will delete the whole line. So I'm going to type in H. I want to make sure I get these message numbers correct. And it looks like we're missing message number 23 and message 33, which we deleted. So I'm going to say undelete 23, 33. Let's see if we've got the right syntax there. So it doesn't look like the right syntax. So what if I said 23 space 33? All right, it looks like that works. So now I'm going to hit H. And as you can see, message number 23 is back and message number 33 is back. Now, this is very important with the undelete command. As soon as I quit from mail with the Q, right? Oops, with the Q, what's going to happen is any messages I've deleted, I will not be able to get those back the next time I come in. And so to prove that, I'm going to delete 23 and I'm going to delete 30. Oops, and I'm going to delete Control U. So I'll delete 23 and 32. And so I'll hit enter. I'll type in H to see my headers. As you can see, there's a gap here between 31 and 33 and also 22 and 24. So remember, once you quit, right, you can see it saved one message in the inbox. It held 30 messages in my mail file, which is var spool mail, my login ID. And it says you have mail in var spool mail CSI135-400. So if I type mail again, it goes to number 21. You can see I've got 30 messages. So now I'm just going to type in 30 and then get to the end and type in the headers. And as you can see, it has renumbered the email messages. So previously, up here, where I deleted 23 and 32, and then you notice, remember, 23 disappeared, 32 disappeared. Those messages now are gone permanently, and mail has renumbered the remaining messages. So if I were to try to undelete 23 and 32, mail is going to, I'm sorry, well, 32 is an invalid message number because we don't go down that far. But if I said undelete 23, right, 23 is still there. So when I type in the header command, 23 was unread, but it's still here, and it's the same file, the host file, right? Oops. So nothing's changed, right? So let's take a look at the question mark again. Now, replying to the sender, there's two ways to reply. Capital R will reply back to the sender, but lowercase r will actually reply to the message sender and all recipients. And so I typically use capital R because I don't want to get a copy typically. I'm just replying back really quick, so I'll use a capital R. M, you can actually mail. I can send a mail. I don't even have to leave the mail utility here. So I can type in M space and then user list. I'll send it to TPB, which is my faculty account. Hit enter, subject, and I'll put in test email. I'll put this is a test, right? Now remember, it's key. The two ways to send email, once you've composed the email message, is either Control D will send it, and now it'll ask me for the CC, but I don't have a CC, and then enter. And as you can see, it moved me back to the ampersand prompt. So if I were to type in M space TPB again and subject, this is a second test, Oops. So Control U again. This is a second test, right? You can also put a period on a line by itself. So that's another way to send the message. Again, I don't want to CC anyone, so I'll just hit enter, and now I'm back. So let's come down here to the TPB account. So if I type in mail, you can see I have 2 email messages. The first one is test email, and this one here is this is a second test. So even from the ampersand, you can send email. The other thing that you can do is you can actually run a command from within the mail utility. So if I precede a command with the exclamation mark and type in who, it will actually run that command for me. And I can see who's currently logged into the system. Or if I do exclamation mark W, gives me a little different information, right? Shows me the idle time, the CPU cycles that are being taken up by the different processes. So again, H will print the headers out. The question mark is critical because that will allow you to see all of the options that are available to you. And now I'm simply going to type Q to quit out. I'll clear my screen. And again, we'll do ls, right? And so the ls, the cat command, the VI editor, and the mail utility were the key utilities on the Linux system Vader that we reviewed or that we went over last Wednesday. And so it's very important to continue to practice. Simply create documents. If you have a document that you no longer want, you can simply type RM for remove and remove that file. And then I type ls and the file is gone. I'm going to remove testing, hit enter, ls, and the file is gone. And one of the nice things about the Linux system, you'll notice that I'm only typing a few characters and then the name is auto-completing. And the way I'm doing that is, as long as it's unique, right? FAV, the only file that begins with FAV is this one right here. If I type in FAV and I hit the tab key, it will auto-complete that. So I'll back up here. In fact, I'll go all the way to FA, hit tab. And in fact, the only file I have that begins with an F is favorite_color. So if I just type F and then hit tab, it auto-completes for me. So I'll remove that one as well. I'm going to remove lab 1. I'm going to remove lab 1 answers. And I'm going to remove my test file. And so now I'm simply left with the inbox. And it's very important that you do not delete the inbox file. The inbox file contains all of the messages that you have read but did not delete. And so how do you access those messages? Well, what we talked about tonight or last Wednesday was that you could cat that command out, right? Or cat out the file name. But as you can see, you get a whole list of all kinds of things here. You've got mail headers. It's really hard to see, where one message starts and where the other message ends. So a preferred way to do that is to simply use the mail command. You could do mail space dash minus F inbox. And now we get a much clearer picture of what the inbox file looks like. And you can see it's got 21 messages. So we're seeing all 21 messages here. So as long as you've read the file and you haven't deleted the file, once it's read, it will move to your inbox. And typically when you quit the mail program and when you're done reading your email, it'll actually tell you how many messages it has moved. So if we move to the window down here, I'll look at message number 1, where I had sent this to myself. And again, the window down here with the black and the yellow is my faculty account. Let's do the headers. So I could type in number 2, or I could just simply hit N for the next message. And again, if I do the question mark, you can see that N by itself, go to and type next message. So I just simply hit N, and that takes me to the second test. And now that's turned into my current message. So when I type Q to quit, you'll notice I get a little message here that says saved 2 messages in inbox. So again, they've been read. I did not delete those messages, and so it'll save them in my inbox file. And this is a good best practice is to read the email. If you're certain it's junk, you can go ahead and delete it. But if you've got even the slightest feeling that you're going to need that email again at some point, it's okay to let it go to that inbox file. You're going to be hard-pressed to fill the inbox file by the end of the semester. So now to get to that, I'll type mail space -f space inbox. And as you can see, I've got quite a few messages here. We've got 208. So let's go to number 206. And then I'll type H for headers. And the last two, as you can see, are the test email. And this is a second test email, right? So that proves that once you read the emails, if you don't delete them, it'll simply be saved off into a file called inbox. And we just saw how you access that. So how do you send an email message from the command line? So you can see I'm at the command line, right? I'm not in the mail utility at the ampersand. So there's a difference. When I'm at the ampersand prompt here, I'm in the mail utility. When I quit out, I'm at the command line. So let's say I'm at the command line and I want to send an email. I would simply type in mail space -s. And remember that if your subject has spaces in it, so this is my third test, ... you want to make sure that you enclose the subject in double quotes. The only time you don't need the double quotes is when you have a single word with no spaces. And then you put in the login ID of the individual you're trying to send to. Now, since we're sending on the class system, you do not need to include @vader.aacc.edu. That's not necessary because you're emailing me from your student account and you're sending it to my faculty account, and we're all on the same system. So you could simply do TPB. Now, if you wanted to send it to an account out on the internet, and let's say you want to send it to my account at gmail.com, you would definitely need to put the @ sign followed by the fully qualified domain name that you're sending to. So yahoo.com, gmail.com, right? But again, since we're all emailing back and forth on the class system, I don't need to include the @vader.aacc.edu. So I hit enter, and as you can see, I'm now in the mail compose portion. So I can put in, this is my third test, ... And let's say that I get down here and I remember, you know what? I need to change that to my fourth test. There are a series of Tildy commands that you can run. And again, this is simply composing an email from the command line with the mail utility. If I type Tildy ? And hit enter, I can see a list of all the Tildy escapes that can be used from within mail. Now, what just printed up on my screen here, this is not part of the email message. So if I type in Tildy ! W, right, and you can see here Tildy ! Command, it's going to invoke the shell, and we're going to see what we got. So this is who's logged on right now. In fact, you can see the process that I'm running, the user CSI135B, it would be B25. I guess it just stops it right there. So it doesn't show you the whole thing, cuts it off. But you can see that this is what that user's doing, right? TPB, if you look down here, I'm still in the mail window, right? So it shows I'm reading my inbox. And again, the user, it shows that the user is composing an email message. So it's convenient because if I want to see, whoops, so now that's actually going to show up. So it's going to be Tildy ! Uptime. If I wanted to see the system uptime, that's how I would do it. But now you can see I've made a mistake here, right? And it's actually a timely one, because the Tildy escape we want to look at is how do I get into the VI editor? So you can go directly into the VI editor by simply issuing the Tildy V command. And again, I keep saying VI, but on the Linux system, VI is simply a link to the Vim, the VI improved editor, but I'll use VI, it's interchangeable. So Tildy V brings me into the message. So again, J to move down, DD, lowercase d, right, one right after the other, will delete a line. If I didn't want to delete that line, I would hit U to undo. But we want to get rid of that line because it's a mistake. So I'm going to do DD. Now, how do I get down to, I'm hitting J, and you may be able to hear, right? It's not able to move down because this is the end of the file, right? The little tildes here indicate the end of the file. So to open a line under my current line, I use lowercase o. I meant to say that this is my fourth test, even though it's not. We're just simply adding some text in. And again, just like VI, I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to do Shift-ZZ and now continue. So what that's telling me is I'm continuing with the composition of this email. And I'll put in thank you. All right, now two ways to send the email. The first is Control-D or a period on a line all by itself. And that's typically what I do is I'll just get to a blank line, hit a period by itself. There's nobody I want to CC. And then I hit enter. So now I'm back at the command line. So LS, you can see I have my inbox. Who shows me who's logged on to the system. W shows me the processes that each individual is running. So let's come down here and let's see if those messages showed up. So I type H, and you can see it doesn't show me any new messages, but if I quit, you have mail and varspool mail TPB. So now when I go back in, you can see, oh, and actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. So yeah, I was in my inbox file here. So these are all these old messages. So I'll quit out, and when I type in mail, my mailbox or my mail file on the system has been updated with the new message from CSI135-400 saying that this is my third test. And let's see what that message looks like. Right? So you can see the VI edits are in there, but what's not in there was the printout of the instructions. So remember, when you start mail from the command line, right? We'll bring this command back up. So when we start mail from the command line, if you do tilde ? It'll show you different commands that you can use. So let's say I wanted to send a file, which maybe I've done my homework in. So tilde-R will read a file into the message buffer. So it will actually read a file in that you've created or that exists on the system, and it will email that file. So if I were to do tilde-R space inbox, let's say I wanted to send my inbox, you can see that you're going to get a confirmation back that it has found that file. Now, if I type tilde-R and junk, right, basically saying that I would like to add the file junk, have it read into this email, and you can think of it as an attachment, and I hit enter, you'll notice I receive an error message saying junk, no such file or directory. If you don't receive this feedback here, which echoes the name of the file, the number of lines in the file, and then the number of characters or bytes in that file, then that file has not been attached. And you can see here, when I try to attach something that doesn't exist, I'm going to get some feedback from the system telling me no such file or directory. So when you receive this message, right, if you thought you had a file named junk, how would you check? And the answer is right here. Tilde, ! And then the command. And which command would we use? Whoops. I would do tilde ! LS. Right? I want to list out the files that are in my current working directory, which in this instance is my home directory. And as you can see, the only file that's in here is inbox. So that's why the reading in of a file inbox worked, but the reading in of a file that did not exist or that was not there is going to give me an error message. All right. So I'll do a question mark on a line all by itself. I'm not interested in CCing anybody. And then let's come down here to my faculty account. I'll type H. You'll notice that I'm not seeing that new message, right? And so this is what I was actually trying to demonstrate earlier when I was in my inbox file reading old messages, is that the mail message is there, but it's not updating. So is there a way to update from here to see the message list? It certainly doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go ahead and quit. Or I'm sorry. If I type in pre, no, that doesn't work either. So I'm going to go ahead and quit. And as you can see, it says new mail has arrived, held one message in varspool mail TPB, and I have a new mail message. So I'll type in mail, and there it is. This is my third test, so I'll hit number 2. Well, actually, I could hit enter because the greater than sign is next to that email message. And there you go. There's the inbox file. It's pretty comprehensive, very long file. So I'm going to quit out of there. So now when I go into mail, I've got this one last message. And as you can see, now the mail is empty. All right. So that was a review of the VI editor and then some of the commands that you can run from within the VI editor, as well as the mail command and some of the commands, and basically two ways you could send mail messages. You can send mail messages from the ampersand command while you're reading email, or you can start a mail session from the command line. All right, that's a review of week number 2 from September 4th, 2013. I will see you all on Wednesday night, and have a great week.